I got that though.
Yes.
Great.
You're welcome.
Do it later.
Hi, I'm Alexandra Silva. I usually go by Alex. I'm a senior business analyst at Salesforce on the customer journeys team.
Hi, I'm Courtney McKenzie. I'm a product marketing manager on the customer journeys team, and I'm also at Salesforce.
So prior to coming to Salesforce, I was at Washington University in St. Louis. I got a degree in systems engineering. From there, I moved to Chicago and I worked for Accenture Consulting for 5 years, where I primarily did e-commerce integration projects, and then I came to Salesforce.
And for me, prior to Salesforce, I was working at Expedia, just down the road in Bellevue. And at Expedia, we were using this great email marketing software called ExactTarget, which has since been acquired by Salesforce, and that's how I got to join the Salesforce Ohana. And since I joined, I've had the pleasure of working on what happened. Microsoft as my client, and most recently I'm working on the Journeys team, which means we're creating these journeys to help our customers get started once they buy or purchase a new product. So getting to really figure out, what does a customer need to make sure they start using this cool product or tool that they've just purchased.
So in summary, a typical day for me, usually team meeting at the beginning to plan out the day, meetings with project managers to get the timeline going. From there, stakeholder conversations. After stakeholder conversations, it's working on project deliverables. And after that, it's doing data analysis and figuring out how the performance of our projects are doing.
Mm-hmm.
So I won't repeat a lot of what Alex just said, but she kind of summed up perfectly what we do every day. There is no typical day, and it just really depends on where you're at with your product journey. Are you just starting? Are you in the creative stage? Are you trying to deliver it and QA it? So your day can vary. The one exciting thing that I'll add or append to what Alex already said is where we get excited is really diving into the data to understand how well is our journey working. Our emails being sent, sometimes things break and we get to address problems and figure out what's going on there. And if the emails are going out, and journeys are more than just emails, of course, but in our world now, when we ask the customer on day 3, have you done X, Y, and Z, are they opening the email? Are they clicking on the email? Those are really insightful characteristics to know about your customer demographic. So that's where I think both Alex and I get pretty excited to dive into the data.
I think what excites me about my job a lot of the time is figuring out the puzzle piece. It's a challenge. I'm trying to figure out what our customers need to be successful, and so with every new product, with every new journey that we work on, it always feels like we're trying to solve some sort of mystery. We're trying to get to the base, the real issue of what customers need. So that finding out that piece is pretty exciting to me. As well as the flip side, once we've already gone live with a particular journey with a product, we get to see and explore and see how these products and things that we've been working on for several months are working. That data and reporting piece, that performance, looking into dashboards and reports and all of that stuff is pretty exciting for me. Coming from that engineering background, right, the data is always interesting. Aside from the typical project stuff, working at Salesforce is also really exciting. You get to work with fantastic people like Courtney and other members of our team, and just overall company culture is amazing that the company gives back, so that's been a real pleasure as well.
Yeah, Alex, again, already hinted at this, but my favorite part of the job is connecting everyone, the product and the people and our customers. So getting to speak to a practice lead, a product lead, might be a premier success specialist or success center specialist, bringing everyone together to make sure that we're addressing the customer's need, that's super exciting. And so again, being a connector, bringing it all together feels really satisfying. And then when, again, as Alex was saying, you get to do that with amazing teammates, super cool. There's some couple little anecdotes that Alex and I can share, but we have a team where instead of paying our team members back in praises, we send Milano's cookies because they love Milano cookies and they work really long hours, and sometimes you just need a Milano. What if I want to give 3?
Oh, you can.
Oh my gosh, I'm the worst.
You're no.
I have too many. I'm like,
no, mine are.
Got my man.
You'll see why. Okay.
Cool. So I think people that inspire me, as cheesy as this may sound, definitely my parents. My parents are immigrants from Peru, so came to the U.S. in the 80s, and I really owe everything that I have in my life to the foundation that they've laid for me and my older brother. My mom is super smart and always tutored me through school and continues to tutor other students in her day job today, which is amazing. And my dad was an incredible businessman and a manager for an operations research group that, he was well loved and really did his job very well, and just kind of aspired to be a manager like him one day. But definitely my parents inspire me.
They're very good inspirations. There are so many people that inspire me. I don't even know where to start, like truly and honestly. I'm just going to go right to levity because, as you may have figured out from this chat, I enjoy humor and levity. Jerry Seinfeld and Ellen DeGeneres. I love those two people so much, and I find them so wonderful. I love Ellen's compassion, and she's not afraid to just stand up for what she believes is right. And the same with Jerry. Like, I don't know him that well. In fact, I've never met him, although it is on my life stretch goals to meet Jerry Seinfeld and make him laugh, a genuine laugh. So I don't have my bit ready yet or even my joke. I'm working on it. But again, I just love how he connects people and it brings everyone together. So I think for me, that's just very admirable. And my list goes on, but I'll stop for now. President Obama. I wanted to go with Obama, but then I didn't want to make it political.
Don't go political, yeah.
I was accused of my number one, but
somebody said Obama though.
I love him.
Yeah, he's pretty great. So outside of work, I'm really passionate about music. You can always find me at some sort of a concert festival or watching live music at a bar somewhere. I just love to see it. And I played the cello growing up in school. I play the guitar a little bit on the side, so it's a passion of mine that I really enjoy. Aside from that, I love to travel as well, so always looking for my next adventure, whether it's outside of the country or even inside the country, like Seattle, for example. Came for the weekend and got the pleasure of staying here a couple of extra days and hanging out with my coworker Courtney, which we're on the same team, but we work remotely. I'm from the San Francisco office, Courtney's here in Bellevue, and we talk and communicate on the phone and through pings all the time, but never get a really good chance to be together in person. So that's really fun, and I feel like we get to be more friends when we are in person together, not just colleagues, right? Really blending that line there. And Courtney is such a wonderful teammate colleague to have that it's so great to be in person. So that's always fun.
Well, thank you, Alex. Yeah, it's Salesforce is really global, and what Alex was just saying, I realized as I was driving to Lower Queen Anne yesterday to pick Alex up. It was the first time we'd seen each other, and I realized it was only the second time in a year that we've met face to face. And it's crazy because we've developed, I'm going to be bold and say, a very good friendship over a year of video conferencing and phone calls and texts and phone calls. And I just want to give you a big shout out and thank you for all that you have inspired me to do. Alex has this ability to take any idea, whether it's big or small, and she breaks it down into this easy, digestible way to proceed forward. And I hear her do that all the time. Not only with things that I say, but things that the entire team, the entire company says. So I could go on, but I'd probably embarrass her. I'm just very lucky to have Alex as a colleague and friend.
And how can you not love this positivity?
Don't,
so wonderful.
Don't forget about the levity.
A lot of levity.
Yeah.
A lot of levity.
Very important levity.
We don't like each other.
Right.
Hello, my name is Jean, and I'm a technical writer.
Yeah.
Before I came here, I was a technical writer at Microsoft, and I have editing experience as well. I started my career in publishing, and I was an English literature major in university. There's no real typical day in the life of a writer, but in general, my work is split up into about 3 different things. Writers work on UI, so we're doing error messages, dialog boxes, and we're also updating existing content so it's current. And then we're working with product teams to make sure that our new help is released at the exact same time as products. What excites me about my job is that I get to help people. Lots of different people work with technology and software, and they don't always do one thing for their job. They might have many roles, and it's a little intimidating sometimes. So if I can have some help documentation or a really crisp message and dialogue box that helps them get on with their day and get their jobs done, that makes me really happy. The woman that inspired me the most growing up was my grandmother. She went into chemical engineering and worked in a laboratory her whole life at a time when not a lot of women did that. And she didn't flaunt it, but she just led by example and showed me that there really is no limit to what women can do. And as far as a man that's had an influence on me, I look to people like Bill Gates, who started the Gates Foundation at a very large scale, and then smaller scales, there's a boot company, a rain boot company called Roma. And for every boot you buy, they give one to an underprivileged child who might not have footwear and lives in a cold climate in Eastern Europe. So I really like the concept of getting to make lots of money, but also recognizing the privilege of that and giving back to people who might not have the advantages we do. One challenge of my job is that I have to understand really complex technical behavior, and I translate it so that everyday people can understand it. But what I love about working at Salesforce is that I have a great work-life balance. So I work hard when I'm here, but I get to enjoy live concerts, music, comedy when I'm in Seattle. It's a beautiful part of the world. I hike. There's a great little town called Woodinville, so I get to do some wine tasting on the weekends. And I really enjoy it here. That's what I do outside of my job.
Hi, my name is Amanda, and I'm a support engineer. So before I started at Salesforce, I went to school for computer security and network technology. That was about 10 years ago. I got a very entry-level job at Verizon Wireless doing tech support there. And then I moved on to another company doing tech support for a company that made websites. And after staying there for about 8 years, I moved to Salesforce. So probably 80% of my day is spent working on cases from my clients or my teammates' clients with anything that comes up in our application. Aside from that, I respond to emails, attend meetings, where we go over these cases or upcoming maintenance or releases or anything that our clients need. My favorite part about my job is helping people fix things, finding out ways to make the application work how they want it to. Spending a lot of time on something to actually fix it in the end is always rewarding, and just helping people. And my favorite thing about Salesforce is their focus on equality. It's amazing to work for a company that shares a lot of the same values I do and really is amazing at putting them into practice.
Yeah.
Okay, so one woman who inspires me, this is kind of silly, but Leslie Knope from Parks and Recreation. I think it's always good to have a reminder just to be optimistic and try your best. And yeah, who could be more inspiring? And one man that inspires me would be President Obama. We miss you.
What do you do outside? Yeah.
So in my spare time, well, I have a son who's almost 3, so I hang out with him as much as I can. And when he's asleep or when I have other free time, I like to read. I don't read a lot of books specifically, but I love to read anything I can. I have subscriptions to a couple of newspapers, and I just like to consume knowledge.
My name is Ann Beatty, and I'm a functional manager within the Marketing Cloud. So I started with a, damn it, thank you.
Taking only the important parts.
I'm like, okay. So I started with my degree in business and marketing, and then went back to school for another degree in engineering and technology, which took me into web design and development. And I focused on e-commerce websites, which then brought me to the Marketing Cloud. As a manager, I'm doing something very different than like what my direct reports do.
Okay.
So. Like,
Oh, that's fine. Okay, go for it.
I would say about 60 to 70% of my time is spent in meetings, whether that be with my direct reports or on leadership calls. We kind of drive best practices for our entire organization, along with basic coaching and general conversations. The rest of my time is spent on either special projects that help drive best practices through our organization, and basic HR manager stuff. So what really excites me about being a manager is when I can ask leading questions to somebody when they're trying to solve this huge problem, and then all of a sudden you just see like the light in their eyes when they actually figure it out on their own. So I'm not giving them the answer, but they're actually kind of finding it within
themselves. And that's super, super rewarding for me. When it comes to challenges, the thing that really makes me super happy is also a challenge of mine, because I love the solution and I love to fix problems and find solutions for problems. So being able to kind of take a back seat for my direct reports and being able to ask them those leading questions and to not jump in with the answer immediately and let them kind of come about it in their own time, unless they're really struggling with things, is also a challenge for me. So I learn to kind of give and take when to answer questions and when to answer questions with questions. That's fine.
You can start.
I'm like, so one woman that I think really has inspired me over time is Katharine Hepburn. She is just so incredibly independent, and she didn't care what anybody else thought. She always chased after what was going to make her happy. As far as men, I always looked up to my dad. He is probably was the light when he walked in the room. He would go around. He was kind of a social butterfly, so he would have to make his rounds and talk to everybody before he sat down. And that the kindness and the love that he shared with the rest of our family as well as the community just is super inspiring to me. So I didn't realize that I love to learn to build things and make them work until later in life. I started out in marketing and it just didn't jive with me, so that's why I went back for engineering and technology. And I really found that I fell in love with being able to build things. It was amazing. So even if you get out there and things just don't feel right, just try something new. Try all the things. You never know if you're going to like it, hate it. You might even love it. So go out and try all the things. It doesn't hurt.
Hi, my name is Kanchan Sanithanam and I'm a software engineer in Salesforce. I was working at Microsoft for 8+ years as an SDET. It's basically a quality role, and that's what I really love. And that's what has got me into right now. I just love quality. That's it. So I start my day super early. It usually starts by around 8:30 in the morning with a stand-up. And that helps me figure out what are the things that I need to tackle for that day, prepare a to-do list, and around 40 to 50% of my time is spent with automating test cases, and then some portion of it in meetings, and the remaining in debugging any test failures. So as you know, I already mentioned that I have always been a quality engineer. Benefit of being a quality engineer is you get to actually look at the product first. You know whether we are meeting the customer expectations or not, and work towards that. And there are a lot of ways to do that, and I like this exploratory type of work wherein you can do black box testing, white box testing, and measure how things are going, like performance testing, security testing. There are a lot of ways that you can actually measure what the quality of the product is. So yeah, that's what excites me, and that's what glues me to my role. And the people around me, they actually value quality at Salesforce. So that also adds as a benefit to be liked around when you're walking and people are saying, hey, you're helping us make the quality of the product better. So yeah. So my husband, he is the man who inspires me every single day. And when I decided to start my career, he was there for me as my teacher and as my mentor. So I feel super lucky about that. And for the women who inspire me professionally, I can tell you who that would be. That's one of the distinguished engineer at Microsoft. When I was going through some rough time, I knew I could go to her, and she was my support. So yeah, I will never forget these two people. Never stop to learn. There are going to be challenges, so keep learning. Network, that is very important. And always follow your heart. never give up. So I'm a fitness instructor. I recently became a fitness instructor, and I am a Zumba enthusiast, and I also I'm a performer. So I have been doing shows for the past 2 years, maybe 3 years, and all the proceeds go to non-profit organizations. So I believe in actually giving back to community. So whatever opportunity I can find, I would love to give it back to community, and giving is the most important thing. That's what I feel. So yeah, me and my husband, we also actually serve homeless people. So yeah, that's what I do outside work to keep a balance in work and life. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Mary Lee. I'm a director in the Security Product and Program Management team. And my first job was at Intel, where I worked on microarchitecture level optimizations inside of different benchmark apps. And from there, I learned how to take the programming knowledge that I had and write documentation about it for the Intel software network. And I found that I had a niche that I can grow into, where I can do part-time programmer and part-time writing. And that's where I joined the Microsoft software development team, working on Office and SharePoint tools in Visual Studio. Time outside of meetings. Outside of meetings, we look at the deployment architecture for the different security automation tools we're rolling out. And that includes what tools will developers find most useful, when should the output from those tools be shown to developers to save the most time, and then work with them to help optimize, to improve their security posture for the product that they're developing. What excites me the most is that there are complicated problems to solve. In order for a developer to be most efficient and productive and know how to do their job in a secure way, there's a lot of things involved, including security training so that they have the best coding practices down, automation to be able to scan for security and legal reviews before they are release blocking, and then do static code analysis so that unintentional security bugs are found before we ship. Both men and women have inspired me and my career throughout the years. My first job at Microsoft, I had 3 levels of management that were all women. That sent a really powerful message about the impact that we could have on developers using Microsoft products around the world. I've had many male mentors as well that showed sometimes you have to take a risk and try something new in order to gain more out of it. Here in Seattle, I spend it sailboat racing. So we join and race every week and learn how to communicate and compete as a team. I also do individual sports like kayaking and paddleboarding, where you're still spending time outside in the glorious summer weather.
Hey, hello. My name is Min. I'm a senior software developer. Before I was working in Salesforce, my first job is actually working in JPMorgan Chase as an application developer. And after that, I decided to change my career a little bit. I want to work more about cloud industry. So that's why I moved to Seattle, because here has more job opportunities about cloud. And then I work in Hewlett Packard, and then Microsoft, and then Salesforce. So basically the past 3 jobs is all related to cloud. My daily life, I would say about 50% of my time is writing code, because I'm a dev. And also in our team specifically, so our team spirit is more like, we want to deliver fast. So we don't expect you to deliver big features at one time. So we want you, every time when you commit some code, you want to deliver them. So we need to spend quite a lot of time to deliver our code. So that usually take about 10 to 20% of your time to deliver and deployment, do the deployment. And for the rest of the time, of course, we have meetings. We do the stand-up. So for stand-up and other meetings with sister teams, so that usually takes me about 1 to 2 hours. And then for the rest of the time, other than writing your own code, deploy your code, cooperate with other people, you also need to help your teammates to grow. So in that case, you need to review other people's code. Review code can be a very difficult thing, because everybody wants to write their own code. But if you don't review your teammates' code, their code cannot be merged, and then their code cannot be deployed. So as a teammate, you need to very actively to review other people's code. So I would say the rest of my time is review people's code. So what makes me feel excited about my job? I think first of all is you should join a very good team. So when I say good team, that means everybody is excited about what they're doing. Everybody has passion. I think that is very positive influence on you, especially if you are a student. The first job is very important. So if you are in a good team, you will learn a lot. The other thing I think is technology. And I think while you're working in something really new, and then the technology is pretty hot, that make you feel excited because you know what you are learning every day is pretty useful, and then you have a great market. So I think those kind of things make me feel very excited. Outside of work, I like doing yoga, even though I'm not a professional, but that one makes me feel balanced. Also, I like reading, and I like to hang out with my friends. One big part I really like is traveling, so I want to travel as much as possible. And also, I like music concert, so I try to attend one music concert every year. I think I'm very happy to listen to all kind of music. Yeah.
What's the latest concert you went for?
Last year I went to Coldplay. That is a very cool one because when I was 16, I started listening Coldplay. So it's the first time I see their live band. It's making me very excited. Actually, a few weeks ago I went to the EDM. So that is also very exciting. So those are the things I do outside of my work.
Hi, my name is Vasudha Ravi and I'm a senior project manager. I grew up in India and I did my undergrad in chemical engineering. I moved to the US to do my master's in environmental engineering. Over the years, I have dabbled in a lot of different industries, but I've always been a project manager. My most recent stint was at Hewlett Packard, where I was a project manager. I look at my work in 2-3 different buckets. The first being majority of it, about 70%, is pertaining to projects which are system initiators, whether it's requirements gathering, or UAT testing, or deployment, or enablement, training, communication. That's one part of what I do. I'm also heavily involved in process improvements and optimization for our business unit. And the last bucket is issue resolution and working very closely with the IT partners to understand issues impacting Org62 and our helper training portal. What I love about my job the most is I report into a fantastic woman. In fact, I work with so many different women who I admire and they help mentor me. And my manager's manager has a whole lot of women reporting into him either, and that's really amazing. The really role-specific part of my job I love is being a project manager. I can drill into the details of the project but still know the big picture implementation. And I get to implement really cool stuff like Einstein and Org62, which is really fantastic and super exciting.
Can you also say what is Einstein? They don't know.
Einstein. So Einstein is our proprietary artificial intelligence tool. And so we are implementing right now chatbot. So harnessing Einstein's intelligence to chat with our customers as a Salesforce support agent. Okay, that's an interesting question. I think for a woman, I can't have one single person who has inspired me. To be really honest, it's the team of women I work with. So the women who I work with inspire me a lot. Many of them have young children and they juggle very demanding jobs. They give back to the community. Those are the type of women I look up to, and they inspire me to be a better version of myself and to give the best I can every day to my job. And a man who inspires me, not to sound cliche, but Mark is amazing. He's the reason I applied for a job at Salesforce. His staunch belief in equality, his ability to entrench VTO, giving back to the community, into the culture of Salesforce drew me into the company, to my role. He's a true visionary. There are a lot of CEOs out there who talk about all of these things, but for Salesforce, it's a part of our DNA, and that's amazing.
You do outside work.
I have a super active 3-year-old, so I love playing with him, a lot of snuggles and wrestling. I'm also trying to take him out and get him to enjoy the Pacific Northwest. We just moved here from California, so the sunshine and the rain are amazing, so we're just trying to be outside and do things as a family. And OTF, yes, that's my new passion. I love Orange Theory Fitness. I'm trying to get in 2 to 3 workouts a week.
And also, if you had more time?
If I had more time, I'd love to read. I used to read a lot. These days, my evenings are, do I play with my child or do I read? And I always play with my son, but if I had more time, I'd love to read more. I enjoy reading.
My name's Danica Clark. I'm an account executive for our mid-commercial account segment. I actually went to school for public relations. I went to San Diego State, and at the time I was looking to go down that path, but when I graduated I got involved with a political organization, did that for a couple years, and then transitioned into tech sales that was selling to government. And when I got a taste of sales, realized how much I loved it, and decided to go to the company that is best for salespeople, and that's Salesforce. My day is filled primarily with three things really. So customers, internal stakeholders, and then a bunch of deliverables for both those parties. In the morning I come in, I of course catch up on all the things that I need to get done for the day, write out my to-do list. It's a super important point of my day. And then from there it's executing on meetings and things with clients and starting to strategize with my internal stakeholders. When I came to Salesforce in 2011, I liked sales, but Salesforce really did make me love it. The reason being is I think a lot of people look at sales as a dirty word, and it really isn't. It's the lifeblood of all business out there. There wouldn't be business unless their products were sold. And so learning how to sell in a way that actually helps your customers accomplish their business goals, and it sounds very cliche, but it's very true. You actually can impact on a day-to-day basis what they're doing in their company and personally within their company, and then ultimately just how they're going out and selling to the world. So every day is a new adventure. It's always super challenging, but it comes down to just making relationships with people and helping them with their goals. So I have multiple people in my life that inspire me, but a man that inspires me most, I'd say, would be my husband. He, on a day-to-day basis, is very good at living life. When I say living life, I mean actually executing on the daily challenges and just ways of living, if that makes sense. He does it with ease, be able to kind of overcome things that occur. My mom would be another person that I am inspired by daily. She's just the most loving person. She gives love to every person around her and just understands how to build a community. And that sense of building a community is something that I've always wanted to do within my own life. So to watch her kind of embody that on a day-to-day is inspiring to me. I have a 7-month-old baby boy. So we love to go hang out with our little guy. We take our dogs out. We love to, of course, take them out on a walk, and we do water skiing. So we're out on the boat quite a bit, in the summertime at least, in Seattle. We also downhill ski. So anything really that gets us kind of moving, we like to do, especially now that we have a little baby who is excited to get outside and explore the world.
My name is Michelle Wyatt. I'm a workplace services coordinator here at Salesforce, and I look after guest management, badging, and mailroom. Before starting this job, I was a teacher for 8 years. I was a specialist in ESL and taught elementary school, first through fourth grade. The answer to that is a typical day. There is really no typical day here. The majority of my time is just helping other people here be successful. We give out temp badges and visitor badges, and yes, that's probably, depending on the day, a large majority of your time. Other than that, we have little events. I plan some little events with the Culture Club. We look after mail, depending on the day. Mail can be 50% of your day, or it can be 10% of your day. That means packages going in, packages going out, helping people do that. So just whatever problems come up on that day, my job is to help everybody else here. So what excites me about my job? Well, just being here for other people, making sure they get what they need, whether it's a temp badge or supplies or answer a strange question they don't know who to ask, either finding the resource that they need to connect with and making them successful in their day, setting them off happy. Sometimes they come in and are a little unhappy with the circumstances, and just making sure that they're okay to do their job today. Outside of work, I like to spend time with family. That's my number one. Family, my husband, anytime I can see my kids is like a bonus. Hiking, going exploring the city, exploring a new city, just basically spending time with family, exploring and having impromptu little adventures.
My name is Royce Hasuko. I'm a senior legal operations manager with Salesforce's legal team. So a typical day at Salesforce is actually amazing because it's never the same. So I again, my first project at Salesforce was to deploy an electronic billing system globally, so I got to work across so many teams and really got to feel the Ohana spirit, which is what Salesforce is known for, and got to experience that firsthand because I started in San Francisco. And the learning opportunities at Salesforce to learn about the company culture, learn about all of our internal operations, and learn about how our company functions globally was amazing. And so to that extent, every day was different, and every day continues to be different, and I love that about our company. I have an undergraduate degree in sociology and a double major in society and justice from the University of Washington. I have a Juris Doctorate from Seattle University. I've worked in King County government for 15 years prior to joining Salesforce. In King County, I was actually a juvenile detention guard. I was a juvenile probation officer. I managed public defense contracts, which is indigent public defense, so public defense counsel. So I did a lot of different activities and jobs while I was working in the public sector. And I had the opportunity to join Salesforce's legal operations team about 5 years ago. And my first project on the legal ops team was to deploy an electronic billing system globally. It now manages many law firms and is deployed worldwide for all of our in-house counsel teams. So the exciting thing about my job is the fact that it constantly changes. I think that's the nature of the company. It's, though, definitely in the nature of my job. So as I mentioned, I had an opportunity to work for local government for 15 years, and in that I had been able to move within that sector to different jobs. And in Salesforce, I've been able to stay on the same team for 5 years, and what's been a great pleasure is I've stayed on the same team but been able to learn so many different things in that same team. I've been able to deploy, like I said, systems, and now I'm working on a different project deploying an RFP. My colleagues and teammates and folks around the company that I get to work with are so amazing that it's been able to keep me excited for over 5 years on the same team. So I think the person that or at least one of the people that I look up to is my husband. So his name's Bala Vaskaran. He is doing a startup, and I have to say the amount of commitment that he's put into his company and the amount of focus is really admirable. I have to say he's been a huge help in helping me navigate the private sector, and he left Salesforce a couple of years ago to start his own venture, and it's been really amazing to be able to watch his company grow from an idea to recently they received some seed funding. So it's been really a great journey for him, and I do admire that level of commitment that he has and all of the skills that he brings and the dedication. And outside of work, I have a 6-year-old, so I'm a happy mom, and as I said, I'm married, so I have a wife, and I actually dance the hula. So I've been doing hula since I was 4. I go to bar class, that's BARRE class, and just enjoy life.